On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we engage with a Horn of Butchery, a regular cornucopia of carnage, otherwise known as the Doomsday Machine, right after these crying Commodores claimed they thought Star Trek was a kid's show. Welcome into Star Trek Universe. This episode, we are continuing our journey into the world of classic Star Trek with young Effie experiencing the joy of humanity's future for the first time. I am your haggard old host, hobbling along the well-beaten path of pulp-laden 60s sci-fi, David C. Robertson.
Then I must be the young'un, Effie Uphelders. It is a pleasure to be here once again. We watched the thing.
We did watch a thing, and that thing was the Doomsday Machine.
Evidently, yeah. I am curious what it looked like originally, because it is weird CGI. Like the very much the let's do remastered versions era of sci-fi where it wasn't quite up to snuff yet, but it is funny.
Yeah, it didn't look better. Well, some people argue it looked better. I didn't think it looked better.
Fair enough.
The writer complained that they thought it looked like a windsock dipped in cement.
Isn't that what it is, though?
Yeah.
That's the shape they went with.
It looks like a doobie.
Yeah, pretty much.
Looks like a doobie. I am sending you a picture of it. I don't know if you've already seen it, but...
I am looking at the Memory Alpha thing just now, and it seems that they just darkened it up a bit.
Yeah, it just looks like what they did for the remaster, honestly.
Yeah, they didn't veer off very much. It's just like, that's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
doesn't look much better or worse, but I was curious.
Yeah, I remember back in the old days, or sort of back in the old days, when this came out, when the remastered came out, I was like, "Oh man, what are they going to do with the Doomsday Machine? That's got to look better." And then I was like, "It doesn't look very much like a better thing."
It's the same thing, just slightly more HD, I guess, which makes it worse in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
really?
well.
Like the Constellation looks a lot better.
The Constellation? Oh, Oh, no, I'd imagine so, because that looked pretty damn good, the beaten up spaceship. I almost forgot the name. Because what did that look for before? Oh, that looked much less, like, originally, that's less burnt up and shit. That's a pretty okay ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's too shiny.
Yeah.
Brand spanking new, except for a couple of burn spots, but, you know, that's what happens when you put out cigarettes on someone's arm, I guess.
Yep. That original
hard to pale, yet a couple of burn spots. That's how people describe me in my childhood.
That original,
that's unfair to my parents.
The original Constellation was the inspiration for Judd Nelson's character in The Breakfast Club.
Sorry, which character is that again? Fuck.
The guy in the flannel.
I from context, I get it, but I forgot all the names. Anyway.
The guy in the flannel who's like, "What about you, Dad? What about you?" He's got the burns. Enough. He's got the cigarette burns.
Yeah. Took me a second there. I've only seen the movie once. I wasn't hugely impressed, mostly because no one had told me going into it that there was that much fucking improv. So to me, it read as, this script is pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
and then it doesn't work as well if you expect, the plot to be written and the dialogue to be written.
I thought you were going to say, like, I didn't like it very much because no one told me before I went in that it's a classic. So.
No. If anything, that probably worked against it because I knew it was a classic, and I was like, "Why?" Like I can understand, like, on a more high brain level that it's a classic because it was more revolutionary at the time to have kids of this age talk about their issues, blah blah blah. But that doesn't hit the same way anymore, I guess. Yeah. Maybe if I'd seen it when I was a teen, that might have helped. But then I was watching Skins, so maybe I'd already evolved past that level of issues.
Yeah, I don't think I saw Breakfast. Well, that's not true. I was going to say I didn't think I'd seen The Breakfast Club until I was in college, but I had seen a lot of it in bits and pieces on cable television since I was a kid. So
Fair enough. I'd seen like the ending and the final shot. That was basically all I knew. And I mean, it was nice. There were pretty people on screen, so that was fun.
There are John Hughes movies I prefer over.
Very well. I will
Club.
just remind me to jot those down after the cast. Yeah.
No, I mean, well, I don't want to leave our listeners hanging.
That's true. They deserve this knowledge as well.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris
of
Bueller's
course,
Day
that's
Off.
still on my list. Yeah.
Weird Science, Pretty in Pink. Just off the top of my head, those are better.
I forgot Weird Science was one of his too. I just know references to that movie purely because of the Weird Science podcast that does a lot of comic shit. Way too many hours of stuff to keep up with, but I used to listen at some point when I was interested in the week-to-week comic shit.
Yep.
I have way too much to listen to nowadays.
You know what? I'm gonna make people mad at me and not listen to this show because they're like, I can't trust this guy's opinion anymore. I know he only wrote it, but the Ed O'Neill movie Dutch, I like that more than Breakfast Club. Sorry, I know it's a universally hated movie, so hated that after it came out, they even did bits on Married with Children where they would go to the video store and Dutch was behind the family, like on the there's a big poster that has like a sticker over Dutch's face because it was the same actor.
Of course,
that says
delightful.
Says free movie. But
that's good.
I like that movie a lot. Not like a lot, but it's better than some others that are held in very high regard.
Fair enough. I'm curious. I'll keep that one in mind too, because I mean it's Dutch. I must like it, right? No, there's plenty of Dutch things I hate now that I think of it. Let's not get into those.
I've heard you be pretty negative about Dutch things, but this guy's just named Dutch. So
that helps. That's the maximum amount of Dutch I can handle, I think.
Yeah, I think you'll be all right.
Yeah. We had European elections just yesterday, so I am on an all-time low in terms of just appreciation for Dutch citizens, because we will vote once again very poorly, and that's gonna make me sad in a couple hours.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Something that didn't make me sad. Let's get back to Trek.
Doomsday Machine. What did you think about Doomsday Machine?
It was fun. Nothing too deep. It was just one of those let's go all out action episodes in terms of Star Trek's range of this is not one of the cerebral ones. Let's put it that way. This is mostly at the core concept. That's where there's a like, oh, the parallel with nuclear weapons. Like,
right.
There's something there. Beyond that, it's just let's run with the fucking plot and see where we go and have this person with clear PTSD run the ship for a bit because we haven't examined him to diagnose him yet. But,
Yeah. So, there was a lot of nuclear stuff and there was a lot of like nuclear anxiety. Like, they likened this doomsday machine that came from another galaxy as if it was like, it already destroyed the civilizations that it was never meant to actually destroy. And now it's moved into our galaxy. Yeah. And,
it's a fun idea, but also we assume that way based on just nothing. Just there's no reason for Kirk to know that, but it's what we need to know as the audience.
Yeah, this is a hypothesis. It's a theory that they have going in.
There might still be a civilization of let's destroy everyone else with a giant doobie. Yeah.
It's a polarizing.
We're the superior civilization. Yeah, so they're just high.
Yeah,
that's why they know they're better than the rest of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was there's some book or something where they said that I don't know, the progenitors or the preservers or somebody built the galactic barrier to keep these things out because they were from they're from another galaxy.
Fair enough.
Kind of neat hypothetical world building that's never been in canon. But yeah, there were lots of it was very heavy on everyone's mind at this time, like H-bomb shit.
Yeah, I fucking hope so.
So, I mean, you had the 6-Day War with Israel. You had like, I wrote it down somewhere.
Some of those wars.
Oh, yeah. It says 4 days before the Doomsday Machine began filming, China emerged as the world's fourth official atomic power. And by January of 1968, the Doomsday Clock advanced to 7 minutes to midnight.
Which chapter of Watchmen is that again?
I don't remember what happened in Watchmen, but the Doomsday Clock is a real thing.
I know. But it's been thoroughly ruined for me by Watchmen, so
I understand.
There's only one connotation I have.
Yeah, I feel like it was supposed to be. The nuclear shit was supposed to feel more prescient than it did in this episode, because it really was just like Decker hamming it up for a lot of this episode.
Oh yeah, which wasn't necessarily like that was enjoyable enough. It's just these regulations need to be rewritten.
Yeah, and you know what? He has said over and over again that he thought that it was a kid's show, or like he said when he was alive. He said he didn't realize the Moby Dick allegories until years later. He said he thought the episode seemed kind of silly with the Planet Eater and the spaceships and acted as though he was playing in a cartoon. He said, I was playing Captain Ahab in outer space, but I didn't think about it that way until years after I did it, when I read that in an article.
Fair enough. I haven't read Moby Dick, so I missed that. Is it like explicitly alluded to? Did I really fuck up, or was it more subtle?
I mean, it's the obvious the thing that everybody does when they're alluding to Moby Dick is Captain Ahab willing to destroy everything and everyone in his path to getting the whale. In this case,
sure,
in this case, Decker wants revenge on the Doomsday Machine. He wants to destroy it because it killed his entire crew.
No. I understand the parallel. Like, I know enough about Moby Dick to get that. I was just like, was there an explicit reference I should have caught, or is it just the same trope?
It's the same trope. He just didn't realize it until years later.
Fair enough.
If you missed it, it's okay, because the guy who started it missed it too.
Yeah. See, I'm could have played him, really.
Yeah. But what's funny is, like, he has said this all these years about how over the top and stuff he was. I thought he did a really good job. Yeah,
he just seems pretty grounded. Like, he's shaken, but he's still, like, he doesn't, he's not chewing scenery in a way that makes it laughable or like, to me, it didn't come across as confusingly kiddish or like, it fit. That's just because it's not an established character either. So it's just, you get like, oh, this guy is off. But that's who this guy is now, because he's, lost everything.
Mm-hmm. And I personally,
from the first moment onward, it just works because you meet him like that.
Absolutely, from the moment he says, "They say there's no devil, Jim, but there is." Like, oh God! And when he's like, "Where's your crew?" He says, "On the third planet." There is no third planet. Don't you think I know that?
Yeah,
there was, but not anymore. Like, oh my!
I'm also unsure how you
really
read those lines in the script and then think, this is for the kids. This one's for the kids.
Yeah, but well, he had that, but then he also was like, I don't know, planet killers, star ships. This is stupid bullshit.
Sci-fi is all for kids. Fair enough. That's
the 60s.
Wisdom of the day. Yeah, that makes sense.
It was the 60s. That's how they thought. They're like, it's like I'm on that Lost in Space this week. That's what I'm doing. No. I thought it was interesting that, like, there's a thing that the zeitgeist talks about, like, iconically, Kirk is the guy who says, screw the rules, Screw the regulations. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And he has not really been that most of the time on the original series.
Yeah,
but,
not yet.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting here. I took note that Decker spends the whole episode being extra. And he's absolutely the one in the wrong. And he shouldn't be doing all this shit, but he's
making poor decisions left and right.
Poor decisions all over the place. But he spends the whole episode trapped, wrapped, and protected in regulations. Everything he does is regulation. Check your books. You can't do shit.
Exactly. This is allowed. Go fuck yourself. Yeah.
And Kirk's way out is to destroy the ship without his captain. We had that line early on with Decker, who was saying, isn't that what I'm supposed to do? I'm the last man on the ship. I'm going down with the ship. That's what I'm supposed to do. Here's Kirk about to destroy the ship without his captain. When Decker is talking about all these regulations and shit and how, he's got to do whatever he's got to do, and Kirk's on the intercom listening to all this. He's like, blast the regulations. Put that man in the brig or whatever it was. Get him off the ship.
Yeah, it's very much like my personal authority, my ship. I will take the fall for this, but I have a feeling they'll be fine with me saving all of my crew. Yeah, and I really liked that aspect of it. Whereas I felt like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just not remembering. Maybe there were instances where Kirk was just like, I'm not going by regulations this time. But I don't remember it as ardently as they did it here, where I was like, and with someone in an antagonistic role going by the book. Yeah. I feel like we've had, in Amok Time, we did have the don't go to Vulcan. Well, fuck it, we're going to Vulcan. That type of shit. Like I think there was another episode where it was like in the final scene, it's like, oh, we finally got word from Starfleet Command, and you, whatever you do is fine.
I think that was Amok Time too. That was also
no. Yeah, that was Amok Time, but also, oh god, in the one where they with the Romulans, I think the war fight where he is worried he's making the wrong decision, and they are like, we have faith in you, it's fine.
Yeah.
Some shoot other people space fight, whatever it was, might have been some other enemy, but this is how well my memory functions after a couple episodes.
Effie, I've seen these things like hundreds of times probably, and I don't remember. It's okay.
Fair enough. Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. It's like I started to watch old Star Trek, and it's like when you put on an old album and you're like, I don't remember any of this. And as soon as as you hear the first few notes, you're like singing along immediately.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's pretty much it. Because if you started that episode, I'd be like, oh, this is the one where this and this and this. But off the top of my head, the titles mean nothing to me. There's a couple I can remember.
They don't mean nothing to me. I'm not there, but
no, of course. You'd better not be, but
yeah.
There's a task division on this podcast. Like, you're supposed to know something.
I remember like big scenes or fun campy scenes, and then I'm like, how did they get there? And then as I'm watching, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like mouthing the words with them. I'm like, oh yeah, yes, this tastes just like I remember. The words in my mouth.
Let's just swallow and then burp them up, and then taste the same, swallow them again. Anyway, that was gross.
It's musky and dusty, like from my childhood. I taste mildew and mothballs.
The taste of childhood. Mildew and cigarette burns.
What about you, Dad? What about you? I don't know what else to say here. This is a pretty divisive episode. Like, people usually either love it or hate it. Specifically, apparently, This was one of James Doohan's. I can't remember who it was, which one it was, because let me look real quick here. I've got a lot of notes. DC Fontana described it as her least favorite episode of Star Trek, and James Doohan cited it as his personal favorite.
Dang. I mean, that's a weird choice, though. Like, it's fine, but
Yeah.
I'm smack dab in the middle. Like, I don't love it. I don't hate it. Like, it is fine. It's like I said, it's one of the more actiony episodes of just driven by, we need to fix the technobabble and get the ship working, and what if we explode this thing this way, and he didn't die for nothing. You know, that's just, there's some campy moments like his final before death.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the light getting brighter, that was fun. That was cool. It's not the right shade, but we'll forgive him for that.
Yeah.
It's not how light works. If it's bright white, it should be bright white in space. Damn it. But
it was
getting
it was some kind of shield on the window of the shuttlecraft or something.
Yeah, it's just reflective, so he doesn't get the orange. Like it's a blue filter essentially. Yeah,
sure.
Not a blue light filter, but because that anyway. Light spectrum shit. We're not concerned with science on this podcast.
I'm not.
Getting back to Kirk taking over the ship, it is funny to me that Spock is not willing to veer off regulations until he's like, on Kirk's authority, I guess I have opposing orders now from a lower commanding officer, but my direct superior, so fuck it, I'll listen to those orders because I like them better. I don't know, the logic sort of escapes me, but there's something there where I'm like, okay, so you are willing to do it when he's taking full blame, but also there's no real reason why him as commander of the ship has more weight to his orders than the higher commanding officer. Anyway, I'm glad he listened finally, but you know,
yeah,
could have just had some mutiny sooner, I guess.
I don't think it's a logic situation. Spock is half human, despite the fact that he loves to preach that he's totally logical. He is not, and he does have loyalty.
Yeah,
now, like,
definitely.
He is going to be like, I don't know. I never know what Kirk's going to do at this point. Like, maybe he'd be like, Mr. Spock, why didn't you listen to Commodore Decker? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. No, I'll listen to him. This will, technically speaking, I got to do it. But then when Kirk comes in, he's like, all right, nope.
End of discussion. That's what my friend said.
And we've already seen him risk it all and throw logic aside for his previous captain.
Exactly. That's what I thought of when you said loyalty. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And also, I think part of him still hopes that Decker can be persuaded by logic. Like he's constantly reminding him, like, you can't do this. This won't work out. Stop killing everyone. Like he relinquishes the throne, but he is also still advising very much against all of the dumb shit Decker wants to do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he might also just think, like, while we're stuck in this position, it might be best if I'm still on the bridge. Like, he doesn't want to push it to where,
he's locked up. Yeah.
He's the one, that's like taken out of duty, and who knows what the security, who knows what the security people are going to do.
No one. Like, people are occasionally taken down somewhere, but what happens? I don't know.
Yep. So, interesting thing that I took note of, when Decker is in the shuttlecraft, he says, there is no way to blast through the hull of that machine, so I'm going to take this thing right down its throat.
Yeah.
And then when Kirk is flying the Constellation into it, he says, I intend to get a lot closer. I'm going to ram her right down that thing's throat. Sloppy writing, or was it supposed to, like, mirror how similar the two men are, despite being on the opposite sides of the coin here?
Yeah, I'm guessing sloppy writing, but that's just because we can look through that fourth wall. There is the parallel is interesting to read into, but I'm not sure it's like a strong motif or anything. It's because it's not an essential thing about how they think or operate, and I don't know. I didn't get a lot of similarity from them anyway. Just a mutual respect in the sense of, they know each other from whatever Starfleet school, academy shit they came from.
I would agree with you, except for noticing the fact that Decker's all wrapped up in regulation. Decker stayed with his ship. Kirk stayed with the Constellation.
That's fair. Yeah.
And then, which was not his ship, but when it was time to fly into it, Decker killed himself.
Yeah.
Kirk was like, beam me the hell back.
Yeah, okay, but outside of fleeing the ship at the last second, it is very clear that he is like, no, I'm the captain, I'm making this call, I'm the one who pushes the button at the last second, and Scotty, get the hell out of here first.
Yeah.
Because we're not risking the transporter bailing on you and me at the same time. Like, that's
Right.
fucked. So there is absolutely the same honor, the same sense of duty that they have to stick with the ship, and they're the captain and they're responsible. That's absolutely there. But that's also probably what is ingrained in you in Starfleet Academy or whatever the fuck.
But see, like, the way I saw it was
I'd expect the commanding officers to feel that way.
The way I saw it, though, is Decker is like, I'm going down with the ship. That's my job. That's my that's the regulation. I am dying with this ship. Kirk is like, I will fly that ship and get pretty damn close, but you better pull me out. Going along with his, like, I'm not going by regulations that are stupid.
Yeah. No, stupid regulations are stupid. But I also think there is a big sense of just survivor's guilt in Decker's character. There's just a ton of, I lost my entire crew. I killed them. I should have been down on that planet with them. So my sacrifice is the least I can do, basically. There's a lot of, because he didn't.
Survivor's guilt, yeah.
Yeah.
And guilt over being, there's a lot of talk in this episode about being the captain and being responsible for the deaths or lives of your crew.
Yeah, that clearly weighs a ton on him.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Like, I like what all of the things point to in terms of, like, how different Decker and Kirk are as captains. But we're also looking at Decker as a guy who is just severe. He's in shock. Yeah,
the man's operating on pure adrenaline, just no rational mind left.
And it's, Norman Spinrad wrote the episode, but I'm feeling some Gene L. Coon in here with some of these,
possible.
Kirk anti-bureaucratic regulation bullshit. Like,
fair enough.
I'm kind of feeling like that might have been a thing.
It always feels like there's a bit of team effort going on. Like, even especially if it's a name we don't really know that well, it's like, yeah, you came up with the first draft, and then Gene L. Coon and DC Fontana just supervised the shit out of the next one.
And maybe Gene.
And probably Roddenberry had some input. Yeah.
He just came in and that one his leg. Alrighty. This episode marks the debut of the redesigned engineering set. The dilithium crystal storage units now occupy the center of the floor, complete with recycled Horta eggs.
Wow, I did not pick that up.
Yeah, they're just balls painted a different color.
That makes sense. Yeah,
on a console.
I figured.
A ladder and upper level have been added into what was just a high bank of lighted panels in the first season. The set also is entered through a short spur hallway now, rather than as a side door off of a main corridor. The console across from the forced perspective end of the set has been replaced by a doorway and moved to the main wall to the left of the red grid. The huge structures among which Kirk's evil self and Ben Finney once hid are not seen in detail again. But the emergency manual monitor set was built on stilts on that spot, making its debut in Mirror Mirror.
Uh-huh.
I
need visuals for all of this.
Yeah,
crap.
like I wouldn't have even noticed any of that shit, honestly.
No, exactly. This is someone being enough of an antfucker to just go in and like draw out all of the maps of the Enterprise. Just okay, what does the floor plan looks like? Oh my god. That is amazing, but
Yeah.
like dedication. I'm impressed. Like I realized it's been decades and people have, little to do with their time, but damn, that's detailed. I love it.
Yeah. This was cool. William Wyndham, who played Decker, has said at conventions that he had his character compulsively fiddle with the cartridges as an homage to Humphrey Bogart, who did the same thing with ball bearings in the Kane Mutiny.
I mean, I haven't seen that, but cool.
I haven't either.
It works for the character. Like,
it does.
It is very much like he is very neurotic, very fidgety, very clearly still shell-shocked.
Yeah. The director, Mark Daniels, finished this episode in 5 days instead of the usual schedule of 6.
Damn.
He made a bet that he could finish the episode in 5 days. When he succeeded, he got a $500 bonus.
I mean, that's pretty good in 60s money, so...
Yeah.
I'd go ahead and save the studio some money by finishing a day early. Like, sure. Didn't turn out much worse than if they'd had an extra day, I'm pretty sure. Like, wouldn't have made much of a difference.
Yeah. Here's something that kind of goes along with my theory that maybe Gene Coon got a hold of this. In most of the earlier drafts of the screenplay, Decker did not sacrifice himself, but instead survived to admit his mistakes and voluntarily retire.
Fuck that. That's weak shit.
It is.
I happen to still be on the memory alpha, like with the pictures, but below that is the production timeline, and the revised draft is by Gene L. Coon. Yeah.
Okay, good.
May 10th. So yeah,
I did not even see that.
The first draft was April 5th, and then a month later the revised draft he did. Yeah.
Nice.
And then there were some more final draft shits, but whatever. That doesn't say who did it. So we were correct in our assumptions. Always lovely.
Yeah.
I enjoy being proven right. Who doesn't?
Norman Spinrad, the original writer, was displeased with the model used for the Planet Killer.
Fair enough.
He had envisioned a doomsday machine bristling with all sorts of evil-looking weapons. It has been anecdotally reported that the Doomsday Machine miniature was made by dipping a windsock in cement, but there is no first-hand account of this.
Would be a funny backstory, but at the same time, what he describes as the alternative wouldn't have been a better design. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate the simplicity of just, this is one huge-ass thing with one huge-ass beam that will shoot a planet to shit. Like, that works. It's just where you go from the mouth to, like, the sort of tail, that shape is weird. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. If it were just, I don't know, more roundish or shortish, it would have been fine. It's just kind of weirdly shaped.
It is.
But conceptually, it's better than whatever the fuck he imagined. So, leave it to the production designers.
Darren Doctorman has suggested that the model was more likely made of the type of foil used by gaffers on set, wrapped in blue lighting gels.
Interesting.
Not
Not too familiar with that stuff because I haven't been on a set in a while.
that sounds more likely than windsock dipped in cement.
Yeah, I feel like that would run into some just practical problems.
Yeah,
Like I
seems
feel
like
like
it'd be heavy.
Yeah, that too, but also just the how does it retain its shape? Like,
Yeah,
it's not like papier mâché. Like, it's not a fucking. It's not. Shouldn't be that easy to just dip something in cement and have it stay the exact same shape as when wind goes through it. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Now I always assumed it was papier mâché.
That is also very likely. I mean, I meant it in the sense as using cement is not the same as papier mâché. Like that's paper mâché is a different animal.
Yeah,
That would make sense. Like, yeah, I could see that.
yeah,
Because it looks a bit like, someone slapped a bunch of newspapers on top of it and then painted over it.
it does. In the German version of the episode, the line said
Da
by...
Schiff up. Sorry, I had to.
Sorry. No, it's fine. German version, the line Kirk said in the beginning of the episode when a female crewman passes him is incredibly different. In the English original, he says, every solar system in this sector blasted to rubble. Clearly not talking about her at all.
Nope.
In the German version, translated to English, he says, I think I should work on getting these skirts longer again.
I mean, that's fair, but also not related.
No.
Weird to say out loud, but but someone in production must have thought that.
Yeah, like they were hanging the lantern for the very conservative censors or something.
Yeah, it would have been funny to have that as a line. I don't know where they got it. It must have been just some German having a fucking piss, but like, oh Jesus. That's great. That's great.
So Mark Cushman in These Are the Voyages Season 2 said that Doomsday Machine is the first time that Star Trek came in under the new reduced production budget for Season 2.
That makes sense.
So even with the numerous photographic effects needed, Doomsday Machine with a total cost of $173,336 came in $8,664 under budget. The first episode of the second season to not exceed the money allocated by the studio. So all the others exceeded the money.
Exactly. That's delightful. And all because someone bet a guy that he could do it in a day less, probably. Because that's just most of your budget. Another shooting day will fuck you up.
Yeah. In 2013's dollars, the cost of this episode equates to just over $1.2 million.
I've always wondered what it would be in 2013 money.
Yeah.
That's still relevant, right? Yeah. It's probably a lot more now.
In 2013, a 1-hour sci-fi drama was budgeted for more than double that amount.
Yeah, that too.
So there's also that.
But still, it's like that's nearing the Game of Thrones levels of just budgeting. Like, throw in a couple million per episode. Fuck it, we're on Disney Plus now. That type of energy.
Alrighty. This is interesting. Recalling his time on the set during the filming of the episode, Spinrad couldn't help but notice the competition between Shatner and Nimoy. He said, the funniest thing is there's a sequence in their dialogue that goes Spock, Kirk, Spock, Kirk. While I'm on the set, I see that William Shatner, in between takes, is sitting somewhere. He's got the script and penciling out Spock lines because he had something in contract saying that he had to have the most lines, that Nimoy couldn't have more lines than he did. So Mark Daniels, who was the director, starts to shoot it. 5 blown takes. It's really an unusual honor. You're not really supposed to stick your nose into this, but I can't stand it finally. I know what's wrong. There's a reaction line from Spock that's missing. It just can't work without it. So I called Mark Daniels over into the corner. I said, listen, Mark, the reason you're having trouble with this is because of the missing Spock line that Shatner took out. I know the whole reason why that is. We can't put it back in, but maybe you can just tell Leonard to grunt. Can you get away with a grunt? And that's the way they shot it.
Oh, that's so fucking petty. Like, God, we're having a dialogue, but I need to have first and last word because otherwise you have too many lines. God damn it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And dude, Shatner, like, I've read so many books and so many accounts of this kind of shit from Shatner. But, I mean, you're looking at this guy who is supposed to be the lead of a television series. Yeah. And all the fan mail that's coming in is all for Leonard Nimoy.
Of course.
And so much so that Leonard Nimoy just like went and got a raise, supposedly, because of it.
As he damn well should.
Yeah. But other cast members have complained, or did complain over the years, that Shatner would go and take their lines as well. Like, I don't think they should say that. It feels like I should just know that. I'm the captain.
Yeah, right? They don't need to tell me shit. Yeah, you've told me that. And it's oh, God, to be such a dick. Anyway, it's not great for your working relationship with all of your colleagues, but it's just nobody should have given him the authority to meddle with writing because it's not his fucking job.
Yeah, I think.
Oh boy,
I would be curious to see the timeline where Shatner got mad and left Star Trek, and just see it not change at all.
Yeah,
Just,
no, it would have like the
or
best
see
thing
how it
they
did.
probably like the best thing they probably could have done in that situation would be to just go. He's tragically dead. Spock promotes to from first officer to captain, and we move on with everyone shifting one spot. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like make someone else first officer. It'll be fun, and you have the tension of Kirk dying some gruesome death. That will be fun with McCoy and Spock. Yeah, you could wing it.
I've had
It writes itself.
I've had this conversation with my parents and with my siblings a lot over the years because we were all Star Trek fans. And they would always say, like, it's a shame Jeffrey Hunter didn't continue on as Captain Pike because he was a much better actor than William Shatner.
Fair enough.
And my response has always been, yes, but is he as memorable of an actor?
Yeah.
So much of the, iconic nature of Star Trek, the thing that makes it stick in the public craw. Shatner,
Shatner is just Shatner. He's Shatnering. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, the fans love Spock, but the only thing fans love more than Mr. Spock is doing their Captain Kirk impersonation. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it would have lasted as long in the...
Possibly. Like, maybe you needed a bit of bad in there. Just the campy extra shit that wouldn't have been brought by a proper actor.
Mm-hmm.
That might have been... There's something to that.
And, it
Shatner, worked out fine.
Shatner is a proper actor. Look, I'm not trying to take anything away from him as far as, like, his successes. The dude understudied for freaking Christopher Plummer. And we've seen him do really great work on this show.
Yeah.
But as it feels like, as Nimoy and Spock's popularity grew, Shatner tried to act out more and more and be more bombastic. Now, also some of it, he says, which he's also claimed that, like, what got him noticed in the first place was when he understudied for Chris Plummer. On stage, Christopher Plummer wound up getting sick and Shatner had to do it. And he got so nervous he couldn't remember the lines. So he would have these big dramatic pauses,
to think of what the fuck I'm supposed to say.
Yeah. And he's also said that, and I don't know how true it is, but he said that they would change the scripts so much, even while they were filming. And it got worse and worse as the show went along, as did Kirk's acting, or Shatner's acting. So that they would just, like, he's standing in the middle of a scene and like, oh no, you've got hold on. And they run and go get another script and hand it to him.
Draft. Yeah. Oh God. That's horrible to work in as an actor.
But I've also noticed that nobody else did that. Nobody else had that problem.
Of course.
But it might just have been a Shatner thing. Because he had taken all of everyone else's lines. No one had to remember anything.
Yeah, exactly. And everything that was being rewritten was probably because he was cutting lines, stealing lines. Like, oh shit, but if you say it, it has to be slightly different. Like that type of shit.
Yeah. I don't know.
It makes sense. But at the same time, it's very funny that the guy who was probably indeed very jealous of the popularity of Spock would just overact to be like me, as opposed to Nimoy just literally underacting because that's his character. Like, how would that connect more with audiences? But, whatever.
Yeah.
It's an interesting strategy, I guess.
Yeah.
Desperation. Oh.
All right. Well, I mean, do you have anything else on this episode? How do you feel?
Not really. I feel good about this. It was fine. It was fun. It had some moments, and it had a bunch of stuff in the middle, and you had to sort of sit. Yeah, exactly. It was a show. You had to sort of sit through the bits where you're like cringing that a Commodore would be this fucking annoying about things, and then just wait for that to be resolved. Like that's sort of the.
Oh, sweetie, this is Star Trek.
Yeah.
This is Star Trek. Anybody who's higher ranking than the captain of the show is like the most annoying prick you've ever met in your life.
That makes sense. That makes sense. They really like their hierarchy as long as it's on the bridge and not above that.
Yeah. It's just like Mr. Eyebags in that one episode is just like demanding Kirk do the thing, and he's just like, yeah, not until I get my people back. It's just everybody who comes on who's a diplomat, who's an ambassador, who's anyone over anything, like they're all gonna be dicks. Admirals,
consistently, they've all been the person who goes, but I outrank you, so I get to tell you what to do, like in the most obnoxious way possible.
Yeah, that's a long-standing Star Trek tradition.
It's usually the second line they have is just, but I can tell you that my job is more important. That's pretty much what happens.
Like they've got an admiral on TNG who they're like, oh, Captain, the admiral's on the line for you. And you just see in his face, he's going, shit. Like he's just like...
That's fun.
Like Picard's just like, not her again.
Damn it. Also an admiral woman? Oh, we've truly jumped decades. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's TNG.
Exactly. We'll get there.
You'll get there. All right. Well, I think that's it. That's all I've got for Doomsday
Sounds
Machine.
Like it.
Join us next time when we'll be trading in our Chevy for a red jack. You ought to know by now.
Christ. Fuck. Delightful. Well done.
I gotta get a Billy Joel reference in there somewhere.
Sure. Oh, Lord.
We'll be talking about Wolf in the Fold. Until then, Joel on True, live long, prosper, and of course,
eat that dick, people. Eat a dick.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.